Hello, so we've been 2 weeks since our last video journal and fair bits happened in that time. The first week I spent in the general ward just doing interny type work. So in the morning we'd do ward rounds and I'd follow around with my little notepad and pen, copying down all the things that the doctor wanted me to do. And then after ward rounds was finished, I'd sit at the desk and I'd write down all the notes and order all the tests and go around and take all the blood and do all those kind of jobs. It was good. I kind of enjoyed that kind of work. It was, at least I sort of knew what I was doing and I felt pretty comfortable doing it. Having said that, most of the time I was finished by midday and had no more jobs left to do for the rest of the afternoon. I think I was a little bit too efficient sometimes, because the nurses would be like, "Oh, you've done that already," and yeah. But it was a good experience, and I think I got a lot out of it. I find it a little bit difficult, the fact that a lot of the conditions that are being treated I am not very familiar with, so I'm just taking the doctor's orders at face value rather than actually delving a bit deeper in and making sure that things are being treated the way they should be, which I think is makes it a bit difficult. But we had a patient on Thursday, I think it was, and he came in the night before with a hypoglycemic attack, because that's what they called it anyway. He'd passed out and he was a known diabetic, and apparently the story was that he hadn't been eating for the past couple of days because he hadn't been feeling well. He vomited and he'd taken his diabetic medications and he'd passed out, so they brought him into the hospital. And I think because of the history that was provided, it was assumed that it was just hypoglycemia. But they took an ECG, and maybe they don't have very much practice of looking at ECGs or anything like that, but they seem to just read the blurb on the side about the summary of what the ECG showed, and all that said was bradycardia with right bundle branch block. And anyway, the next morning, all four of us med students were having a look at the ECG, and we noticed a pretty obvious STEMI in the anterior and lateral leads. So we let the doctor know, and the patient was pretty immediately put onto medications to treat it. Obviously they don't have fibrinolysis here or any of the other fancy stuff that we have in Australia, no cath labs or anything like that, so it was pretty much just aspirin, nitrate, morphine, oxygen, and the next day they ended up getting a plane to send him across to Port Moresby for more definitive management. But apparently the doctor in the hospital was telling us that the doctors in POM were very, very impressed by our diagnosis of this STEMI, but to us it was just pretty much bread and butter, so you know, it didn't feel like it was that much of an achievement. The next week we went on patrol. It was really fun. We went to a village called Kungim, and so typical Papua New Guinea style, we're told that we're going to leave at 8 o'clock in the morning, and 8 o'clock comes and Simon, who was organising the trip, says, "Oh, sorry guys, we're not going to leave until 1 p.m. because there are other people that are coming with us and they're not ready yet." So we just went home and said, "Oh, you know, that's fine, whatever." We just learnt to accept it. Anyway, 1 o'clock comes by, still waiting. 2 o'clock comes by, still waiting. 3 o'clock, still waiting. And by this stage I was getting a bit nervous because I knew that the journey was supposed to take us an hour and a half by road, then an hour by boat, and then an hour hiking. And by my calculations that would mean we'd be hiking in the dark, which was a bit of a frightening prospect. But it turned out to be quite serendipitous, really. The drive was fine. The boat trip was quite nice. It was twilight as we headed out, and then we ended up getting to this nice little rivulet just as night was falling completely, and couldn't see where we were going. had one of the guys up the front with a torch shining on all the sticks and trees that had fallen into the river, and we were navigating very slowly. And then some fireflies went past, and it just kind of made it all really magical. And then we got out and started our hike in the dark with lots and lots of mud puddles that I ended up almost knee deep in a couple of times. And about 10 minutes into our hike, it started bolting down rain, soaked through in about 1 minute. But I think it made it all the more fun. We really enjoyed it, and we laughing and carrying on. And I think if we had have taken it too seriously, it could have been a really unpleasant journey. But because we just learnt to accept it and just have fun with it, I think it just made it all the better. And anyway, in the village, we didn't do much healthcare, that's for sure. We only saw probably one patient. I think Dan mentioned that patient already. But we had a lot of good community time, which was good, playing football with the kids and stuff like that. I was sitting out in the back porch trying to get reception on my phone at one stage, and this group of little girls came around. I think they were in grade 8, they said. And they were just standing there really nervously, and there was this awkward moment when I was like, do you want something? And they didn't want to talk because they were too shy, and I didn't want to talk because didn't really know what to say about these girls just standing there staring at me. And then one of the girls said, oh, can we tell stories with you? And so we sat down, and telling stories was basically just me telling them all about my life in Australia, but they really appreciated it. And after that we went and played some touch football. At the end of the night they followed me back to the house and presented me with some billums, which was really lovely. So it felt really special. I think that's my cue. I think the curtains are telling me to shut up. Alright, that's everything for this week. Goodbye.